month late, but winter definitely showed up. So I've been trying to put together this kind of comprehensive plan, and I'm trying to take a close look at all of the different problems in our city. So today, we're going to talk about the first one, maybe the biggest one, definitely the one most people like to talk about, and that is Kittanning's drug problem. So instead of walking around today, we're going to drive around because it is really, really cold. So the opioid epidemic has hit the state of Pennsylvania especially hard, and a 2015 study actually had Armstrong County as the #2 county in the state for overdose deaths per capita. Since Kittanning is the county seat of Armstrong County, that makes us the epicenter of the drug problem here. Now, we don't have final numbers for 2018 yet, but the trend does look very encouraging. There were actually state leaders that were here over the summertime because they were shocked at how Armstrong, Indiana, and Clarion counties were making this turnaround. They couldn't figure out how it was happening. But I think if we're honest with ourselves and we're doing an assessment of our city, we know inherently that drugs are still a big problem here. We still see the activity, we still see the overdose stories, we still see things on social media. We know that it's still alive and well here, even if it's getting better. So I think it's important for us to talk about it and how we can solve it as citizens. So through this series, I don't want to just look at government solutions to problems or just put it all on the police or anything like that, but I want us to get creative. I want us to look at different ways that we can all get involved to try to help solve this epidemic that's in our city. As a business owner, I tend to look at things from a business perspective, and so when I look at the drug problem, it all feels like a supply problem and a demand problem. I think most of the time when we look at solutions, people are very closed-minded about the possible solutions that are out there. I think a lot of times we just focus on either the supply side, where we just say, well, we just have to get all the drugs out of town. And, you can be effective with that in a certain way. A lot of communities have been really effective at what they call is moving the bubble, where they focus on a certain area and push the drugs out. As that can be effective, it doesn't really help in the long run because it just pushes it to some other place. It doesn't actually solve the problem. Now, I do agree that we need to work on the supply side, and we'll talk about that in a second, but we have to work on both. From the demand perspective, it's a little bit different. If you just only try to solve the supply problem, but you don't take care of the demand problem, then one drug just tends to replace the other. So instead of a crack cocaine epidemic, you end up with a prescription epidemic, and then instead of prescription drugs, you end up with heroin, and then the cycle just goes on and on and on, and you just end up playing whack-a-mole. But if we can take care of the demand problem and actually solve addiction at the individual level, to where people no longer have a want or a desire, then we can really solve the problem long term, not only in our city, but in the entire county. So let's just take them one by one. I'll give you my ideas and thoughts, but as I'm talking, if it triggers some thought in your mind or you think of a different thing that I haven't thought of, please, please, please put it in the comments. I really want to create a comprehensive document that we've all been a part of and that we can have something that we can work off of, a list of goals, a list of practical things that each one of us can do to help make this city a better place. So starting with the supply side, I think what happened last year on the trail, I think was a really good development, and it just is something really practical that anyone could go out and do. We actually went and cleared brush as one of the Summer Serve projects. It was a project that, Summer Serve just got on board with Mayor Klein's project, actually. Cleared out a lot of brush here because the trail can actually be a really active hotspot for drug activity. And so if you can open it up so the police can actually see the trail when they drive by, it reduces the amount of places that drug activity can happen. And so if we can do that in places like the trail and on vacant houses like this one, which has been vacant for several years, if we can help to take care of those properties, then we can reduce the supply activity of drugs in our community. I'd also like to see greater partnership between the citizens of Kittanning and our local police. We have a great police department that really cares for the community, but I don't think we have great communication back and forth. I'd love for us to have a way for citizens to report drug activity and for the police department to be able to communicate back with the citizens on what was done with that information. I think more people would be likely to report drug activity if they knew that it was going to be followed up on and if they knew that it was going to make a difference. I'd also love to hear from the police, the district attorney, and any other local experts on what the average citizen can do and what results could we expect if we actually apply the things that they tell us to do. And I'd love for us to be able to hold them accountable for their part if all of us would come together and implement their recommendations. The demand side, I think, is much more difficult to solve, but I do have a couple ideas that I think are fairly unique. Number one is that I'd like to see a church task force. So churches like ours, Living Water Church, could maybe be partners with other churches, and if we could partner with the hospital, if people could sign a waiver and said, hey, yeah, I'd like someone to follow up with me, then we could get prayer teams going for people that are caught in addiction. We could have a spiritual mentorship program to help walk people through the process of recovery. There's so much good that we could do if the churches would come together and say, yes, we want to be a part of tackling this problem. We want to be a part of the solution. I'm obviously a big proponent that a relationship with God is the number one thing that can solve many of our problems, and so I would love to see that be a bigger part of recovery. I know there are things like HIPAA and that kind of stuff that would get in our way, but at the same time, I think we could still create a program where people could give their information voluntarily, and even if we only got 20% or 10%, I still think that would be worth trying. If you think your local church would be interested in something like that, please let me know in the comments and maybe we can get together. We're also going to have to create partnerships with recovery specialists like those that are here at the Ark Manor. They're doing good work in our community, and we need to not only make that work more known, but we need to figure out as a business community and as individuals how we can partner with them to help increase their productivity and their success rate. And as members of the community, we need to find a way to come together over this topic. We need to find a way to build partnerships between churches, recovery centers, local businesses, because we need to quit treating addiction and treating addicts as people that are subhuman. These are somebody's neighbor, these are somebody's friends, these are somebody's children. In many cases, these are mothers and grandparents, and so we need to figure out how we can help them. We need everyone to be productive members of our community, and we need to not just be yelling at each other, but be working together to try to come up with solutions. Every addict needs a second chance to move forward with their lives. They deserve a chance at victory over this thing. They deserve a chance to be self-sufficient. They deserve to love themselves again. They deserve to know that people care for them, that they're worth fighting for. So we're probably going to need to change some of our terminology. We're definitely going to need to change our tone. Drugs are a huge problem, not only in our community, but across the entire state. And if we're going to make noticeable progress on this problem in our city, it's going to take all of us. We're going to have to come together, and we're going to have to work for the solution. Okay, back to my office. Let's wrap this thing up. It's so cold. It's like 10 degrees and falling. And I can't wear gloves when I'm doing the camera. And I don't want to wear my hat. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention as I was driving around is that I would love to see the next generation get really involved with this as well, both on trying to solve the supply problem and the demand problem. I think we do a pretty good job as a whole on educating kids that drugs are bad. I think they know that. But I think if they can witness firsthand the devastation that these problems cause to our community and the difficulty that people have in coming back from even using one time, then I think they would be more likely to not partake at all. And so I would really love to see the next generation be involved with all these solutions. Like I said, you guys, I know this is just a few solutions, and I know I'm only one person, and I'm not the smartest person in the world. So if you have some other things that you can add to the conversation that would be productive, that would be really, really helpful. If you could put all your ideas in the comments, I would just love to hear them. This is one of those topics that creates a lot of animosity, that creates a lot of anger in people. People are very passionate about it, many times on both sides. And so don't put any anger in the comments, don't do any of that kind of stuff. Try to keep it real life and try to be compassionate about your fellow human beings. Be doing several more of these videos coming over the next couple weeks. Planning to actually film another one tomorrow, as long as the weather permits me to drive around again and show you a little bit more of the problems in Kittanning. I get a lot of flack a lot of times. People say, Andrew, you only show the best parts of Kittanning. But you know what? I understand the problems, and I think I'm very real about the problems. But at the beginning of the year here, we're going to take a look at each of the problems that I deem are the biggest problems in Kittanning, and we'll see if we can't maybe find some solutions and turn all that negative talk into some productivity for 2019. That's it for today, guys. God bless you. Pray that you are well wherever you are. Pray that you are warm wherever you are. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.